life organized over here. Okay, we are organized. Let me make sure of that. Yes. Okay, here we go. Hold on. I didn't hit the wrong button. I just hit the button prematurely. Okay, and I don't want to jingle on that premature button pushing.
No jingles on that.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Good morning, podcasters. Today is Wednesday, May the 20th, 2026, and today, Podcast News asks some big questions. Is video podcasting finally manageable? Are we thinking about discoverability all wrong? And could Amazon turn creator podcasts into the next television? So if you're listening live on Clubhouse, hit the share button, top right-hand side of the screen, and share it however Clubhouse lets you. And if you're catching us via podcast, YouTube, etc., please share this episode with a fellow podcaster. And now give us about 30 seconds, and we'll get things rolling. Thanks for being here. The Podcasting Morning Show is powered by Ironic Media, helping podcasters launch, polish, and grow great shows. And by Content Creators Accountant, helping creators build real business behind their content. Good morning again, Podcasting Morning Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Mark Ronick. Currently on stage with me, my co-hosts, Jonathan Howard, Ralph Estep, DR Fay, Alex Baelish, and BC Babbles. We'll see who else from the cast and crew will be joining us this morning. And if you want to learn more about them, I haven't said this in a minute, go to podcastingmorningshow.com/people. And you will be able to click on each person's name that you just heard me say and learn more about them and why they're on this stage with me. So before we dig into today's show, I wanted to share with you that our Spotlight series, although I don't feel prepared to, I don't have my usual notes in front of me about it, but I think I've been talking about it long enough that it shouldn't be a problem to tell you. If you go to podcastingmorningshow.com/spotlight, this is your opportunity to submit a clip, audio or video of your show, something from you telling us, introducing your show to us, right? This is not going to cost you anything. This is free of charge, no strings attached. We just want to put our fellow community members in the spotlight here at the Podcasting Morning Show, highlight your podcast so that we can support one another. That is one of the biggest benefits, I think, of this particular community is that we support each other. We were just sharing an example the other day of that, where people just want to help one another out, whether they're jumping on your show or collaborating with you on social media, etc. This is such a supportive community, and we want to pay it forward by putting you in the spotlight. So submit your 60-second clip, again, to podcastingmorningshow.com/spotlight. And I see we got some people to join us here on the virtual stage here on Clubhouse. Janaid and Tide, aka Nikki, have joined us. Good morning to both of you. I'm going to just admit to you guys before we hit the music for the news, I'm a little distracted this morning. I know I've shared briefly that my wife Amy is in the hospital. She's dealing with some health stuff, clearly, being in the hospital. And yeah, it's just been a lot. Overall, she's going to be okay. But there's a lot going on that needs to be handled. So thank you, Ralph showing me prayers. Yeah, it's a lot. I would normally share, but my wife has asked me to keep it private for now, and I know that she eventually will allow me to share. It's just that some of the news we've received is fresh, and we need a little time to process. So I'm respecting her wishes and asking for thoughts and prayers at the same time. So thank you just for bearing with that. And if I'm a little scattered today, that's probably why. All right, enough of that. Let's dig into our news. So today, well, like I do every week on Wednesday when it comes to podcast news. Let's start with some data. And I like to start first with the Podcast Business Journal, and I'll explain why. This particular number is a helpful number to, well, actually, I should just say overall, a helpful number to understand is the amount of podcasts being created, specifically the active podcasts being created. These are podcasts that are still being updated and therefore actively marketing themselves. So if you're making podcasts, you might consider this particular number to be your competition rather than that big overall 4.65 million podcasts that we hear exist out there, which they do, but they're, as far as whether or not they're actually actively publishing episodes, staying active on the platforms, that's another story. So the total podcasts updated, by the way, somebody is unmuted and I'm hearing you breathing. Total podcasts updated in the last week, 194,058, which is up 1.5% from the previous week. And also, if we look at this from a 30-day perspective, the total podcasts updated over this past month is 367,938, which is down under 1% from the previous month. Okay, so with that, let's go to DR with our top 5 lists for today.
Hey, good morning. So today's top 5 is Spotify's top 5 business podcasts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So number 5 is the Morning Brew Daily.
Mm-hmm.
Already. Okay. Number 4 is Ramsey's Show, The Ramsey Show. Number 3 is Financial Audit. I'm going to come back and talk about that in a second. Number 2 is PBD Podcast. And the number 1 podcast for business is The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett.
No, that's not a surprise. That show is just something else. I mean, the guests he brings in, the way that he promotes that show.
Yeah, the production
no
value
wonder.
is so high.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about number 3, the Financial Audit with Caleb Hammer.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you have seen what this guy does. For some reason, he pops up on my feed every now and then. He gets people on his show, and it's like tough love without the love part. He completely chews them up and spits them out, and people want to be on his show. It's like, oh, please hit me bigger and make it sting kind of thing.
I remember you telling me about this either on or off the show. I can't remember, but I remember you talking about this show.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But he's number 3 this week. Okay.
I guess it's kind of, DR, I guess it's kind of the way I relate to this, the excuse I give for the people who actually go there to just get destroyed. I think it's like similar to getting roasted. That's the way I'm looking at this.
Yeah. But there's no laughs with Caleb.
Right.
There's just no laughs.
Right. And I'm gonna steer us off course
tears.
for just a quick second. Has anyone seen the latest roast on Netflix?
Is that for
oh my
the
God.
short guy?
Yeah,
short guy.
Kevin Hart. Yes.
Yeah.
I love how when you said the short guy, that was what reminded me of his name. That's so funny. But it is hilarious. I've gotten through about half of it, and it is hilarious. So if you're into roasts, go check that out. Okay, go ahead, dear.
Okay. So the random chart this month, well, they're both kind of random if you really want to know about it. Okay. The random chart is Apple's leisure chart. Okay. So the number 5 is Mojo in the Morning. Number 4 is The Smoking Tire, which is all about automotive.
Okay.
Number 3 is Duck Call Room, which is the Robinson's family, you know. Number 2 is Critical Role. And number 1 is Ante Up. It's a poker podcast.
Oh, okay. Very cool. I have not heard any of those. I think Duck Call Room, that's as the Duck Dynasty people.
Duck Dynasty. I was trying to think of
Yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, DR. Appreciate your top 5s as always. And now here's the point where I stall because I'm going to hit this button.
Quick tip, smart move.
Oh, yeah, I missed it.
Content creators, business
Yes, DR. I went off the rundown. I totally just bypassed how we usually do it. We'll get to events in just a minute, but we're going to do the Content Creators Business Bite with Ralph Estep. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this, is because it's brought to you by Ralph Estep, the content creators accountant. Go to contentcreatorsaccountant.com if you're looking for help to get your content creation finances in order. I personally have hired Ralph to be my accountant, both with my business, Ironic Media, and also personally as well. So he has been such a pleasure to work with and has really helped make the finances thing feel less intimidating, less overwhelming, and he's really gentle with you about it. So if you're
It's
feeling
such a vulnerable thing.
It
This whole
is.
money thing, I am so vulnerable, and Ralph, you have made it so much easier for me, and I don't feel stupid asking the stupid questions.
Right. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
with you there. Yes, he helps you not feel so stupid about those questions, because Ralph hears them all the time. So it's not something he's going to stop it. He's not here to judge you. He's here to help. So go to contentcreatorsaccountant.com and learn more about Ralph and sign up for a discovery call with him while you're there. And with that, Ralph, what do we got for today?
Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you for those kind comments. And yes, all of us go through difficult times with our finances. I've been there too. So I always bring that to the table when I talk to people. But the first thing I want to talk about is a follow-up from last week. If you recall, last Wednesday, we talked about Spotify winning on match time, but YouTube wins on discovery. Well, I was listening, and if you remember last week, we had a little discussion about, is this really a fair comparison? And this morning I was in the gym and I was listening to in and around podcasting with Rob Walsh and Elsie Escobar. And it's interesting, Rob sort of thought the same thing that I did. And I'm going to give you a quote from the show. I wasn't able to pull a clip, but I can read a quote. It says, "But I think there might be another key factor at play." This is Rob speaking. And that is, on Spotify, if you close the screen on a video podcast, it keeps playing. On YouTube, it does not, per the default settings on both devices. Spotify will keep playing in the background. YouTube will not. Now, Rob reached out to the person who is from Podstock, and Podstock got back to him and said, yeah, we didn't consider that. That was not something that we thought was relative. But I agree with Rob that I think that is relative. And that is, those numbers are going to be skewed if it's not a true comparison. And it's not a true comparison if you put the phone in your pocket on YouTube, it will stop playing, versus in Spotify, it won't. And I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. It wasn't like a aha, Ralph was right moment. That's not at all where I was going with that. But it's just something we have to think about when we look and when we hear data. We always have to remember there is some bias in the data. There's bias in the way the data is collected. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we got too far in.
Yeah, and I know that I saw Matt put it in the chat, and we talked about this last week, Matt. Yes, if you pay for YouTube, if you pay for the premium, then it will keep playing, even in your pocket, right? So that is the difference. But I think if we're comparing apples to apples, free service versus free service, I think that's what Ralph is sharing. But BC, I think you also had something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's so funny. Good morning, everyone, that you mentioned this because I was at the Seed the South conference yesterday, and I met this guy named Marcus, and he is building a platform that addresses the same exact issue where, a lot of content on YouTube is not available on, say, Apple Music or on Spotify. So he's built a platform that takes audio from YouTube and transmits it into a Spotify playlist, so that anything that's not actually through licensing or whatever available from YouTube to Spotify, he's got a custom playlist of those things that is available to him on Spotify through this app he's built. And so I think it's so crazy that Ralph is mentioning this, because I just had this conversation yesterday about the same issue with Spotify versus YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, that's funny. Okay, and by the way, say again where you are this week.
So yesterday and Monday, I was at the Seed the
right.
South Capital Summit in Charlotte, which was great.
Awesome. We'll have to learn more. And if you, BC, because I know you've posted some content, where should we follow you if we want to learn more about the Seed of the South?
BC Babbles is where I am across all socials. If you want to go to my beacons.ai/BC Babbles, find all the links there.
Very cool. Thank you, BC. And I see we've got some things going on in different chats here over on YouTube. Our guest from yesterday, Jody Krangle, is joining us, and she said that she feels like YouTube needs to change the way that they're doing things, even with the free version. She thinks they need to make it so that we can hear it even if our phones are in our pocket. And then she also said she's never paid for services like YouTube Premium because she needs to hear the ads because she's a voiceover person. So I think I get that. I wasn't putting that together until you said it, Jody. That makes a lot of sense. And then over on Clubhouse, Dave says he doesn't pay for YouTube, but he says, I play the video with my phone in my pocket when I'm at work. Besides the constant commercials, it plays fine. Now, Dave is probably doing that, but with the phone not in sleep mode. Right. So basically the screen must be lit up in your pocket while you're doing that, which could cause some problems if you bump up against the wrong thing. It could, like, if you even bump your hand up against it while it's in your pocket, it could trigger the screen to do something you don't want it to do. So you have to be a little careful, at least in my experience. That's what I've had to do. All right, let's go back to Ralph with today's new content creator business bite.
Yeah, this is the new one, and this was leaked actually on Podcasting 2.0 Friday before last. And here's what we're talking about. Blueberry has just announced a new partnership with Podpage, and this one's a big win for podcast creators. And I'll talk to you about why. For many podcasters, having a professional website sounds great, but it's also expensive, it's time-consuming, and honestly, it's a little overwhelming for a lot of folks. You got to think about design, you got to think about SEO, episode pages, updates, plugins, and all that technical piece that comes with maintaining a site. But here's the great news. Through this new partnership, Blueberry creators now get access to a podcast website powered by Podpage, and it connects directly to their RSS feed. That means when a creator publishes a new episode, their website can update automatically. No extra uploading, no complicated website management, no need to start from scratch. And that matters. Because a podcast website is more than just a landing page. And I talk about this on the show all the time. It's a digital home for your show. It gives your listeners a place to find your episodes. They can learn more about you, and they can connect with your brand, and they can share your content more easily. And it also helps with exposure. With SEO optimized episode pages, creators have better chance of showing up in search results, better chance of being discovered outside the podcast apps, and a better chance of reaching people who may not have found the show otherwise. And that's value, because every creator wants more visibility, but not every creator has the budget to hire a web designer or pay for extra tools or spend hours managing a website. And this partnership really helps solve that problem. It gives podcasters a more professional online presence while helping them save money. I'm all about money. It helps them save money, it helps them save time, and focus more energy on creating great content. So my business bite is this. Blueberry and Podpage are giving creators a stronger digital storefront, better discoverability, and an easier way to grow their shows without adding more cost or more work. And for independent podcasters especially, that's a smart move, and it's a valuable move. So that's my business bite for today.
Thank you, Ralph. This is an interesting story. And first, let me say, I think it's a brilliant move. I think Blueberry adding this, because look, I think that when we see a lot of these podcast hosting platforms, the website or web page that they provide are mediocre at best, right? They're great to have if that's really all you can do as a content creator, but really they're not super effective other than giving your audience a central place to go to consume your content. But now a situation like Blueberry bringing in Podpage as a partnership, that seems really smart. Right now, they don't have to worry about creating something like Podpage, and they can provide a real service to their community. So I think that's brilliant. And I'm curious what people think when you hear that Blueberry is handling the website piece when they're handing it over to Blueberry. Does that feel like a smart partnership? And do you think that maybe, Ralph, maybe I'll go to you first. Do you think that this is something that we'll see more platforms like Blueberry adopting?
Oh, I think you're going to see a massive amount of consolidation in the market, actually. I was talking with another guy. His name is Randy Black. He joins the show sometimes. I met him in other circles. And him and I both feel like we're going to see a consolidation. You might see a consolidation in fewer hosts. You may see more hosts adopting things like Podpage and trying to bring in this all for one feeling. Now, I've got some concerns about that, because when you've got fewer options, that can make things go up in price. So that could be part of this as well. But no, Mark, I honestly think you're going to see more of this, especially as we move into video. I just launched a video yesterday through HLS with Apple on all of my shows. I think there's going to be a real big push to try to get everything on a single platform. And I think that Podpage and Blueberry were brilliant in doing this, because I think, the thing is, when you look at a hosting platform, they're very similar. And if you've got something that just adds a little star to it, I'm going to go make that decision based on that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the other players like Captivate and some of the other players start to do something in that same vein, because as Brendan says from Podpage, he doesn't want to be a hosting company. He doesn't want to be this. He doesn't want to be this. So if you do that through strategic partnerships, I think everybody benefits from that.
I agree with that last point. And my only concern is if more hosting platforms do this, then it feels like everyone's going to have a pod page. Right? Like, it feels like maybe it waters it down a little bit almost, in my opinion. And there are some other points that I find interesting. Jody in the YouTube chat says that she understands why that they made this move, but having it associated with the podcast hosting platform means that if you change hosts, you're going to lose, you potentially can lose your website. And so she's recommending to be careful about that. And she agrees that Podpage is great. She says, don't get me wrong, but if you want true autonomy, she said she'd probably say, just go get a Podpage account. And I kind of agree with that.
And that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I'll reach out to Dave Jackson and ask him that question, because the way Podpage works is it grabs your RSS feed. And I'm assuming even with this partnership with Blueberry, it's going to do that. I asked Dave about this on his show on Saturday, and all he would say was now it's almost instant with this connection. So I don't see that as being a big question or a big issue, Jody, because your RSS is still going to feed Podpage, but it's a legitimate concern.
Fair enough. And then I just saw another great point, or at least a good point of interest here, is that, so Dave says, surprised by this announcement because Todd Cochran, who we lost around a year ago at this point, it says Todd Cochran was so WordPress focused and even expressed disdain for Podpage in the past. Blueberry is on a new path with Todd gone now. Rest in peace. Yeah, that's a really good point, Dave. Right? Like, now look, you have to, we've lost a leader in this space and a leader at Blueberry, and you have to make adjustments. And it's just, I guess maybe in some people's minds, it's a little unfortunate that it's gone in a direction that he was so adamantly against. Not that he didn't like Podpage or the people there, more so just that he feels that WordPress was a better option for us as podcasters to use. BC, I know you have something. I'm going to go to you, and then Matt, I know you have something as well. So go ahead, BC.
Yeah, my question while I've been listening has been changing a lot. I had one question, not like three other ones, but I'm curious as to whether or not this is this going to be something that's best for people who have podcasts that are, come on, words are hard in the morning.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Come on.
Coffee's hot, brain is not, mouth says glorning, guess I forgot. Words are hard in the morning. Did I say that out loud?
Please continue, BC.
So is this going to be more beneficial for people who've got podcasts that are isolated or are not related to their businesses, whereas would it be best for those who, like me, have a business and a related show where I just like put the Wix podcast feature onto a web page and that's all I need? Like, will this be beneficial for one or the other?
Ralph, your thoughts?
I can jump right in there because I actually have a business website and I have 4 Podpage websites. I think the two can live together, and I think there's value in that. I really like Podpage. It's going to sound like a commercial for Podpage. I really like Podpage because it makes it simple. It brings in the RSS feed. It populates a transcript. It does all of that stuff for you. So for the person that doesn't have a team or doesn't have a web designer, I have no interest in WordPress. The whole idea just scares me because of all the crazy security flaws in that. So I honestly, BC, I'm working right now with my publicist. We're actually building a Ralph Estep brand page And we're going to take that and we're going to layer that amongst the pod page and amongst my accounting site. So I still think it's a big win for podcasters, because otherwise, the thing is, here's what we got to think about. The people who can afford major web presences are people who are on a network. And the network has a team of people that are building those websites. This gives the person who is just able to cover the cost of hosting a really nice front end, display front on the web. And I think that's a huge thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Let's check in with Matt. And then I see Stacy Sherman has joined us on stage, old friend of ours. So we'll hear from her too. Go ahead, Matt. Good morning.
Good morning. I've written in the chat as well. My first comment to something like this is good, fast, cheap, pick two. You can't have all three things usually at the same time without an amount of effort. So without going into the impoopification of the internet and consumer activity, I think you guys have covered that adequately. I think the benefit for podcasters here, we need to be real about, is that if you don't have the time or the knowledge, then this option is good because it gives you a website that's easy to change. But I think every podcaster, no excuses, should eventually be graduating from a service like this and moving on to another hosting service that gives them more ability to customize and grow as they go on. Now, to that, it sounds like I'm saying become a web developer. It really isn't that complicated anymore. And there's a few podcasts I can recommend that talk about SEO in the modern age and the AI age. Essentially, SEO and search authority and all these things aren't as complicated as we make them out to be. But I think services like Podpage and Beamly and services like that make it sound like it's the hardest thing in the world. So just know that you can graduate from this and move on to a WordPress or a Ghost or something else that gives you some more flexibility to grow your brand. It doesn't have to be the only thing you ever do.
Well, I certainly will agree with you that it doesn't have to be the only thing you'll ever do. And I do feel like Podpage has really worked hard at being as customizable as possible. And they've even added a lot of SEO features to it as well to really help you optimize and take advantage of SEO. So, yeah, I mean, I see both sides of it. And I guess maybe because I'm so happy as a Podpage customer that I'm okay with staying there for a while. Like, I think it's serving what our needs are. But yeah, if we at some point outgrow it, then we'll consider moving it. But right now, I feel like we're in a good spot and it works well.
I feel bad now, Matt. It seems like I need to graduate, man. I thought I had already graduated, but it sounds like I'm still in kindergarten or something like that.
This is precisely what I wanted to avoid, and I tried to make it as least direct as possible in terms of that, because it's very easy for us up here. Like I think about it myself. I've had a Squarespace site for a very long time for my business, mbpod.com, that I've gradually been growing over time. But for rethinking podcasting, I've had a podcastpage.io/Beamly account that I used for that, just for ease of growth. But now, because my podcast business domain is where I want all the activity to happen, I'm thinking now, okay, I should probably move on from podcastpage.io and instead start integrating my podcast on my website, because that's where the business stuff is going to happen. I'd rather not have two paths that people can walk and not be aware of one or the other. And it's those kinds of chats where you start to get to the point where you go, oh, okay, webmasters and SEO firms and AI optimization. And that's when you start seeing quotes like $2,500, $3,500 just to redo a website. The only reason it costs that much is because the expertise isn't required as much anymore. And if you do need it and don't have the time, you'll probably have the budget. So it costs an insane amount of money. But you don't have to, it's not about taking a course or graduating anything. For Gabe, I'm about to share the link to the podcast that I've been listening to for the last little while that I think is excellent for this.
What's it called?
It is called SEO effing what? I don't think I can say it. They technically asterisk it in the title. But Nikki Pilkington is decades on her SEO experience, and she is a shill for classic SEO. She really hates the AIO and GIO of things, but she includes in every single episode a list of 5 to 10 things that you can do right now for the website that you're managing yourself for SEO, and anybody can use them. So I'd highly recommend having a listen to that in the
Awesome.
context of it being a graduating point, but not graduating a degree, just to be able to do it.
Cool. Thank you for that tip, Matt. Appreciate it. And I want to check in with Stacy, who's been waiting on stage patiently. Go ahead, Stacy. Good morning.
Good morning. So I think it's a both and scenario. I believe that if you're just starting out and you don't know what to do, and it's the technology that makes you not take the mic out of the box, to quote myself, then this is a great solution. If you are out of that phase, I'm 100% having my podcast assets all on my own website. And for that SEO value, what I've come to test and learn is that that ChatGPT and others are looking for questions and answers, and then use that to serve up the recommendations. So I started to put Q&A on the landing page of that episode. And rather than bring people to a separate site, it's bringing people to mine, and then they're getting to know me. And so I really recommend, I'm in the camp of use your own website no matter what, after you're at the first launching and getting comfortable stage.
Very
Thanks.
cool. Thank you, Stacy. So what you're doing then, just so I'm clear and the audience is clear, you're saying that your main, let's call it business website, also likely has a tab that says something like podcast, and then they click
Yes.
through there.
Yes. And so every piece of content that continues to have a compounding effect with Q&A section from that show is getting rewarded from the chat engines.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it to your own site, you're losing an opportunity for people to say, oh, here's other stuff. Like, I have a blog. They wouldn't have interacted with that and shared it on social media if I didn't have it there, if I was sending them somewhere else. So I'm a big proponent of your own website.
Thank you, Stacy. And Ralph, you were just putting something in the chat there. What did you want
Yeah,
to
I
share?
want to make it clear with Podpage, you use your own domain if you choose to. And all the things that Stacy mentioned, I do on my own domains. My blog is there. I link to all those things. So I am getting the SEO value from those Podpage websites.
Maybe we'll get Brendan or maybe Dave Jackson back so that we can really dig into advantages. And maybe we find somebody who is an avid Podpage user. And I say that because if we bring Dave or Brandon from Podpage, if we bring them in, I don't know if we're going to get the most balanced answer, right? Because they're obviously going to promote Podpage, rightfully so. So maybe we bring them in, maybe we bring some others in, and we have a little open forum discussing that. So I think maybe that's what we'll do. I appreciate everyone's feedback. I am, like I said, a big fan of Podpage. We're sharing the link to it. It's my affiliate link. So if you click that, that just means we get a little bit of extra cash from it. It doesn't mean you have to pay more. It just means we get a commission from it. And as a user of it, I'm very confident sharing that affiliate link with you because I do believe in their service. So more to come on that. Maybe we'll have a deeper discussion here in the future. Okay. Now, to satisfy DR, since we totally skipped over our usual agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome, DR. And that's just a great reminder, too, because if you were watching on camera, you could see DR was very distraught when I skipped it. And I guarantee you that there are people in your audience that do the same thing when you break your normal format. It's jarring when you're used to it as a listener, hearing a show go a certain way, follow a certain format, and then they break it. I'm not saying that's bad or good, because in some ways I created that, what we talk about here sometimes, that pattern disrupt. It was where maybe the listener was starting to lose focus. Maybe they were they were doing their laundry and stopped kind of paying attention to the show. Breaking a rhythm can sometimes reel them back in, right? Now, I didn't do that intentionally, just to be clear, but it does create that pattern disrupt accordingly.
And Mark, I'll also say if you missed the live, is DR's cat was giving her a little shenanigans this morning too, as it was climbing up her back while she was trying to pay attention to us this morning.
He never does that. I don't know what is different about today. Yeah, that was Prozac, and he was like,
That's the name of your cat?
Yes.
How did I not know that?
I have Prozac, Xanax, and Ziggy.
Ziggy. Okay, I don't know what medication that is, but
Alzheimer's.
That's so funny. All right, cool. All right, let me share some events with you around the world of podcasting. This should be relatively quick. First, building a real business around your content. And this is hosted by Gordon Firemark. And it's designed for podcasters, YouTubers, and creator-driven entrepreneurs. The live online masterclass explores how creators can build sustainable businesses around their content through audience ownership, intellectual property, strategic monetization, and proper legal and business structures. Attendees will learn practical frameworks for moving beyond platform-dependent revenue models and building long-term enterprise value. That is a paid event, but it's just $7. And if you're interested in that, it happens May 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's a couple hours long. And if you want more information, just go to makeamogul.com. That's where you'll find more about the event. Also, this is an interesting one. Companies Orbit and... all right, hit it for me, Ralph.
Coffee's hot, brain is not. Mouth says glorying, guess I forgot. Words are hard in the morning. Did I say that out loud?
Companies Orbit and Mercury are officially declaring July 4th Independent Podcasters Day. And yes, that pun is very much intended. The new annual event is being framed as a global celebration of creators who build shows their own way outside the big corporate podcast machine. The website independentpodcastersday.com will feature creator stories, case studies, and a public roll call of people and companies pledging support for independent podcasting. Mercury CEO Liam Heffernan says the goal is to support, represent, and empower independent creators while giving the industry a day to recognize the people doing the hard, messy, creative work behind the mic. And honestly, for indie podcasters, this is a reminder that independent creators are still the foundation of this industry. Big networks may get a lot of the headlines, as we know, on days especially like today when we do the news, but indie podcasters are where so much of the experimentation, the community building, and the real connections still happen. So again, to learn more about this, I'm going to go sign up for it. Go to independentpodcastersday.com. Did somebody have a question or want to say something? Was that UBC? No? Okay. Last item to share as far as events go around the industry. The Empowered Podcasting 3 conference is just over 3 months away. When I wrote that down today, I was like, what? I know it's May and I know the event's August, but when you start doing the math, it's like, okay, we are closer than I thought. And thankfully, we are in a great position. And I'm excited about all the things that we're building for this August. So from August 21st through the 23rd in Charlotte, North Carolina, you'll be surrounded by creators who understand the grind of growing a show, building an audience, and figuring out what comes next. You'll learn from people doing the work, making real connections, and leave with the ideas that you can actually use. If you're ready to grow your podcast or even start a podcast and find your people, join us at Empowered Podcasting. Go to empoweredpodcasting.com. All right, some news bites for you. DR, did you have something? You just came off mic.
I was supposed to read the first little. Okay, never mind.
You got it. Take it away, DR. Again, Mark's a little distracted this morning. Hi.
I see my name. Okay. So Paramount's big podcast plan has entered the chat. Paramount is reportedly exploring a bigger podcast strategy with talks involving Katie Miller, the Paragon Collective, Jubilee Media, and other possible partners. The bigger move appears to be less about let's make a few shows and more about distribution, monetization, and video-first podcasting. Paramount already has podcasts tied to brands like news, sports, lifestyle, and entertainment, but now it seems to be eyeing podcasts in another way to keep audiences inside its content machine, because apparently owning TV, film, streaming, and Pluto still leaves room for another tab open on their browser. So some of the highlights are Paramount may be shifting from simply producing podcasts to building a larger podcast business. Video podcasts appear to be a major focus of strategy. Well, thank you, Mr. Obvious, right? So the company is reportedly looking at outside talent and podcast networks, not just internal franchise shows. And the move follows a broader streamer trend. That was hard in the morning.
Yeah, no.
The move follows a broader streamer trend of using podcasts to extend IP, build audience habits, and create more monetization paths.
Thank you, DR. We will not hit the jingle again for you
Yeah.
because we've hit it multiple times
Right.
this morning. I think we've made it clear that words are hard in the morning. And we're going to go to Ralph with our next story about Spotify making a major move.
Yeah, Spotify is making a major move that could be a big win for video podcasters. Spotify announced that it plans to support Apple's HLS video podcast technology,
Ooh.
which means that creators using Spotify for Creators and Megaphone will eventually be able to distribute video podcasts across both Spotify and Apple Podcasts without changing their existing setup. And that's important because right now, video podcasts can get complicated fast. Creators may have to manage multiple uploads, different platforms, different monetization tools, and different audience strategies just to make sure their content reaches everyone. But this move helps simplify that process. It really means a creator can focus more on making the show and less on rebuilding their workflow for every platform. That saves time, and if it saves time, it saves money. And it reduces the technical friction that often keeps smaller creators from expanding into video. Now, the other big piece here is exposure. Spotify and Apple Podcasts are two of the biggest platforms in podcasting. So when creators can reach audiences across both of those without having to completely change how they publish, that gives their shows a much better chance to be discovered. More platforms means more visibility. More visibility means more opportunities to grow. And Spotify also says it plans to support monetization for video content on Apple Podcasts. So creators don't have to choose between reaching a bigger audience and protecting their revenue. That is business value. It's not just about technology. It's about giving creators more control, more reach, and more ways to earn from the content they're already producing. Now, Spotify adopting Apple's video podcasting technology can make video podcasting easier, make it more affordable, and more scalable for creators. Helps you reach more people, save money on duplicated workflows, and build stronger shows across the platforms where audiences already are. So if you're a creator trying to grow in a video-first podcast world, this is a smart move, and it's a valuable one.
Yeah, Spotify finally getting on board with that. We knew all the other players would, and I don't think any of us are surprised by it because, you know, eventually I believe Spotify had to play nice here and work with Apple too as a podcast hosting platform as well. I think if they didn't, it would have probably hurt them in the long run.
And I'll throw something else out there yesterday because I experienced this personally. Captivate is now also, if you're on Captivate, it's supporting the alternative enclosure now. Since I started releasing video yesterday, now if you have video and some of the players have video on the alternate enclosure, you can publish this to Captivate and it goes right to that. So that's another great thing.
Okay, so that's similar to what True Fans does.
Correct.
Yes.
It's exactly right. So if your podcast app supports the alternative enclosure, then you can put that video out there, and it's great because then you can choose between audio and video. And I think that's where we're moving, Mark, and I've had some conversations about this. I just think you're going to see a lot more of that happening over the next few weeks as these hosting companies realize that they're going to have to support it, whether they begrudgingly do it or not.
Yeah, I think we will see more hosting platforms doing those kinds of things and certainly embracing video. And where Ralph and I kind of butt heads a little bit is I think Ralph really believes that this is the beginning of the revolution for video, and that he thinks that it's just going to become standard for all of us to be doing video. I don't fully agree with that one yet.
But
Maybe
I
I'll be
will say
convinced.
this, and Elsie kind of championed what I said this morning too. She said she really feels like that's kind of where we're going to, because it gives you the option. You know, if you're the way she explained it was, you can be washing dishes, you want to watch the podcast, then you may go for a run, you click on the audio only. So that's kind of my whole point. And Mark and I don't really disagree about it. We just have a different philosophy
Right.
on where we think this is going, which is a very healthy place to be.
So I want to ask everybody here, whether you're in the chat or on the virtual stage, since Spotify and Apple are making video podcasting distribution, I'll say, quote unquote, easier, does that make video feel more realistic for us as indie and DIY podcasters, or are we still feeling like the production's still the bigger barrier? Is this encouraging you, or are you just feeling still like, stop pushing video on me? I'm curious what people think. And while I'm waiting for somebody to answer that question, I did see in the chat from Jody, when we were talking about Independent Podcasters Day being on July 4th, well, we said yesterday that Jody's from Canada, so she's wondering, wait, if this is a global thing, why are we saying it's on July 4th? Just go with it, Jody. Because look, it's all they're saying is, yes, they are adopting Independence Day from America, but they're making this an international podcaster thing. They're just using the same day. So you don't have to be American to participate in this, Jody. But that's a really great point. And what does Dave say here in the chat? Dave, at this, video for me is a lot of feathers, not much chicken. I'm kind of with you there, Dave, just in the sense, and I've alluded to this before, I feel like these platforms are embracing video before we really know if that's what podcast audiences want. Because look, the statistics even show, and we've talked about this too, the statistics show that even people who are consuming podcasts only on YouTube, the majority of them are actually listening. They're not watching. That's what the stats have said from multiple credible sources. So I'm just wondering, this could be a big flop too. I can't say big flop because people will embrace it. The bigger companies, the bigger podcasts are going to use it. But I think it's going to be a flop among independent and DIY podcasters. I think
that's fair, Mark, but I think it's going to give you the option. As the podcast consumer, you'll be able to flip a switch, video, audio. And I just think the idea of being able to have the option is why I think there might be some traction to this.
Okay, fair enough. And Junaid wants to chime in. Good morning, Junaid.
Good morning, everyone. This has been a fun conversation for sure. And you're right. There's a lot of push behind video is because here's the thing, guys. These companies, they don't care about what the audience wants. Not one bit. Because if they did, we would have better solutions. We would have better analytics. What they care about is money in their pockets. And that money specifically is coming from the advertisers. The entire Google YouTube business has been running on advertisement since day one. Google, YouTube, Apple and Spotify want to get in on some of that fun. And that's why everybody's pushing to video, because video ads pay a lot more than audio ads. And that's why we're seeing this shift. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do. I think, and if anything, I think that these platforms, the people that they are catering to aren't the audiences. You're right. I think it's more to the content creator, and catering isn't even the best word, but I think those are really their customers, I think, because we're the ones that are paying for their services. And I think, yeah, to your point, this could just be a part of a money grab, right? They just want to make it more expensive so that they can make more money off of us content creators. That's a theory worth exploring. I'm not necessarily dying on that hill just yet, but it is something that I think about for sure. Let's see. And we've got a few people in the chats here. Jody says it is an extra expense as I pay someone for producing it. It's a different audience. The video is different from the audio only version I put out. Okay, interesting. And Gabe says So someone who came from a video and live streaming background, I have come to enjoy the audio aspect more, but video is becoming more the path for podcasts. I hate it, but the writing is on the wall. But again, it's who's putting that writing on the wall? Who's telling us that it's important, and is it really important? I put out video, right? This is on video, and we let it live, and we promote the video. If you go to podcastingmorningshow.com and you look at one of our recent episodes, you go to one of the episode pages, you have two options. You can listen to the produced, edited audio, or you can watch the live stream as it was recorded. We don't edit it. We don't touch it. But yeah, I've embraced video because I want those people who prefer to consume their content visually. I want to serve them, but I still consider this show an audio first podcast.
You know what scares me is that, because the discussion before was, these people, these companies are telling us that this is the next big thing, that that they're hopping in on it. And it's like they're telling us that you're going to like it, damn it. It's like I feel a little bit of like a sheep that follows, I don't want to feel that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I definitely, it's like you feel some resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, I don't want you to tell me what to do.
Exactly.
I know what my audience, how they consume my content, and it's not video. So stop telling me to post video.
Exactly.
I get it.
Stupid heads. Okay.
Did anyone? Jonathan, I saw you put something in the chat. That's what I wanted to get to. Would you mind sharing what you're sharing here? Because I'm curious about it.
I mean, I was just saying I have video for every one of my podcasts. I use it to promote on Instagram and stuff like that, but I've yet to post a video on YouTube, because with previous podcasts, we did post on YouTube, and honestly, we got a download, 2 downloads. So it didn't make sense for me to worry about making sure the video was perfect, and I needed to have, covers for it and all that stuff. It just didn't make sense. And, I think it's 2 different audiences. And right now I'm not worried about that video audience.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I hear you. If we weren't doing live streaming, I probably wouldn't have a lot of video up either, other than maybe like how you're using it to promote the show itself. Yeah.
But Mark, I also want to interject something here. I don't think you need to overproduce the video either to be effective. I think I actually think there's a place for underproduced video right now. People seeing the real you. I think there's value there. Now, I could be totally wrong on that, but I think there is value there. And the discoverability, like Billy put in the chat, the video discoverability is so much better than the audio discoverability. I have to agree with him there.
Yeah. And statistically, I agree as well. What I see in the numbers, I agree. What I've experienced is not the case. I don't think that we get a lot of discovery through video, because just looking at the numbers, just looking at the views versus the downloads, which I know we say like, don't make that your big focus, but let's just compare these numbers here. And my numbers from video from the live stream are a lot lower, live stream and archived, than the audio version, significantly. It's probably like a quarter or less that are coming through video. But this then gets into a discussion of strategy, right? Like, if we know statistically that video is great for discovery, then maybe we want to invest in getting more people to find us via video. Find us on YouTube if that's your platform of choice. Find us on Spotify. Investing some advertising or investing some time in a campaign that will attract more people to the video version. Something to think about too. Billy wants to come up on stage. Let's bring him up. Billy, let's see if he's here. Yeah. Go ahead, Billy.
Hey, what's up, Mark? Well, I was going to say, for you, live streaming and posting the video is way 2 different experiences. So if you're not seeing those views, maybe try to post the video, like actually post it on your channel. I know the videos that I post get way more traction than the videos that I just live stream.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I will say that those videos, the live videos, have been slowly increasing over time. You know, we used to just get a handful of views, and I'm talking more after the live stream is over and it just stays on my YouTube page. We were for the longest time just getting maybe a handful of listens total. And now we're in the double digits, right? We're on average now getting 20, 30 or so views per video. So it is something's happening there. And I think maybe that has to do with putting the live video on the episode page on our website. I think that might be helping, because I do also see that a lot of our audience does come to our website to consume our content, or at least start there, because that's just what the numbers are telling me, that a lot of our stuff is consumed through the website. All right, Dan is on stage as well. Dan, good morning. What did you want to add?
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me? It's the first time.
Yeah, first time on
talking.
stage. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for being up here.
Yeah, cool, man. So, in the chat a couple seconds ago, Billy said, like, video is better for discoverability. And they're two separate audiences. And I totally agree with that. But here's the thing about those two types of audiences. Video, how do I say it? So it's the psychology in their brain, right? Like, it seems to me that audio first is more long form, and video first is just how our brains are wired. It's the TikTok, the Instagram. Here we have 10 seconds or however long we need to make our thing. So it happens, that kind of explains why your numbers, Mark, are growing really slow on video. But I'm sure that you're picking up more and more audio listeners every day. And that's what happens with both of my shows. And here's why. Audio gives people the time to actually listen to a show, understand the key players, understand what happens, and it turns into this like thing where it's a personal connection, right? We've all talked about that, or you guys have talked about it many times. Podcasting is a really personal, audio podcasting is a really personal experience. Whereas video is like the discoverability thing, like on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. It's all about, oh, there's that guy who wears the blue hat. Yeah, he's funny. Oh, there's the girl who makes funny recipes. Oh, I know this guy. He's that bro who talks about movies with his buddies, right? I have no idea who these people are. I don't know their names. I just know, oh, there's the cute girl who wears red and dances. Know what that's helping. No one's going to come back. I know that for example, I have one of our podcasts is called Band Camp. It's a comedy podcast where we read banned books out loud to try to figure out why they were banned in the first place. We're starting our 11th season next 2 weeks from now. And when I go on our social media, people will actually say, yay, it's Band Camp Tuesday. Like, they actually know, they're expecting that we're part of their life. And that's because we do long form. I think it's because we do long form. We let the show breathe. We have our own personalities. We're on the short, like, I guarantee nobody is going on the girl in the red dress who makes recipes, who knows who she is. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to know the people. And I think, anyway, one more thing before I stop blabbing.
Sure.
You mentioned that you do this, I think, Mark, and this is something I've done for the last, 10 seasons now, is I use Descript. I treat our show audio first because that's what I want to do, but I include video because the video was recorded. I'm just going to edit both at the same time. Like Jonathan, I've never uploaded to YouTube because I use those video versions as premium content, because people maybe do want to watch the videos of what we're doing. We do post, or not post, but I create really good looking video, and I put it against anyone just being a professional thing, but not everyone wants to experience that. It's just like a little carrot that I dangle. But anyway, I edit once in Descript, upload the audio to the RSS feed, and the video goes someplace else. And I don't know. I don't think the workflow is all that hard. Kind of easy. I don't know if you know how to use the tools.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, and Dan, I just want to say that's exactly why I think this is going to work now, because HLS makes it easier. The workflow is simpler. My team right now is taking my back catalog and we're converting it all to the RSS feed through HLS because it's a simple process. You do it one time, you post it one time, and then the user, the consumer, can decide yes to video, yes to audio. And the cool thing is they can switch back and forth. I honestly have to agree with what Billy put in the chat. I don't think it matters long form or short form. I think it's good content. And I think if it's good content, then it's going to work in either. I just think let me encapsulate this. My whole view of this whole thing is give people the option. If it's simple, if it's easy to give them the option, then I don't see the downside of making that available to click a button, yes or no, video or audio.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. And thank you, Dan, as well. Appreciate your insights there. And yeah, I think it does come down to exactly what Billy said. I think if we're making good content, people will find it. Bottom line. And if you're making good content, people will stick around and keep consuming that content, whether it's video, whether it's audio, etc. I'm with you there. And Jody in the chat says video does much better on social media for sure, but audio is still my major focus. I mean, obviously, she writes, LOL. Yes, that makes sense as a voiceover artist. Yeah, I agree. Okay, listen, gang, we have more stories, but we have run out of time. There's one story in particular that I think may work really well for tomorrow. It's a report from OSHA. It's their 2026 report on podcast growth strategy for listening platforms. And they've got a lot of interesting strategies here that I think some of us haven't thought about or really dug very far into. So I'll just say this, that could be our top discussion tomorrow. And in all truth be told, I'm just not as prepared this week as I have been in previous weeks due to the fact that I'm dealing with some health stuff with my wife. So bear with us. But I do think that that's going to be a really good conversation to have. So join us tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, live on all the different platforms. And you can find out which ones at podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. So until tomorrow, make it a great day, everybody. Take care.